nature nut, I'm not afraid to admit. I'm wild about the wild things and I'm proud of it. I'm just a simple case, open and shut. No doubt about it, I'm a nature nut. Today we'll go bird watching, tomorrow we'll catch toads. The next day we'll take photographs of bugs along the road. I never get the feeling that I'm in a rut. That's why I'm a nature nut. Well, I'm a nature nut, I'm not afraid to admit. I'm wild about the wild things and I'm proud of it. I'm just a simple case, open and shut. No doubt about it, I'm a nature nut. Hi there, and welcome to the Nature Nooks Portable Auxiliary Mobile Field Study Center for the Advanced Edification of the Biology of Grigs. What are grigs? Well, grig is a perfectly good English language word that means grasshoppers, crickets, katydids, and other related saltatorian orthopteroid insects. Much easier to say grigs. Many entomologists are trying to bring the word grig back into the language, and I quite agree. Now, I'll admit right off the bat here that many grigs are serious pests of humanity. They eat crops, they eat gardens, they cause famines, they put people out of business. But for the moment, can we just kind of forget about that? Can we try to realize that most grigs are economically neutral, they do no one any harm, and they're fascinating critters? Let's just focus in on that. And to begin, let me point out to you that the back leg, the jumping leg of a grig, is the thing that will identify an insect as a grig. Why do they have them? Well, they have them mostly for hopping. That will come as no surprise with a big, thick, muscular femur and a thin tibia. But let me tell you the 6 reasons for these legs, at least the 6 that I can think of. First of all, if you were a grig in a place like this, it's much easier to hop from one grass blade to another rather than walk down and up the next one, down and up and up. They'd never get anywhere. You can also fire yourself out into the air to start flying. Many of these things have wings. You can use your hind legs to rub them on your wings and make noises, and attract other grigs of the opposite sex to wherever you might be making the noise. You can use the legs for little sort of semaphore movements to communicate with one another. They can also use them to kick each other or predators in the face. And they can use their legs to swim. You ever see a grasshopper swim? They fall on the leg and they go and they're on the shore. It's wonderful. So let's go looking for grigs, see what we'll find. I've got really good news. I've been promoting the use of small, close-focusing binoculars for insect watching for things like tiger beetles and butterflies and dragonflies, and they're good because you can watch insects as close as 2 meters away. But look at this. This is a new discovery for me. I call it my hopper scoper. This is a close-focusing monocular. I read about them in a paper by a European entomologist who recommended it very highly over binoculars. I went to the bird-watching store. I tried one out. You can focus this thing down to about, well, less than half a meter. I can hold out my finger and I can focus on the end of my finger. Not that I'd want to watch the end of my finger, but that's how close you can focus. Unbelievably cool. So I bought one right away, and that's what I'm using for grig watching here today. It's a simple matter. You just find yourself a grig, watch what it's doing. For example, here's one chewing on a blade of grass. They eat a lot of grass. They are real chewers of grass. And I'll have a look over here. You see that one's an adult grasshopper. It has full wings right down almost to the end of the tail, the abdomen. And to the left of it, there's a young one that has just little buds of wings that are not fully developed yet. It'll have to shed its skin before it's an adult. And what else have we got? Here's one with only one hind leg. They're just not, they're not built to hold together. They're built for an intense, short life. And if everything works well, that's fine. If not, their legs are so powerful they can kick against a predator or whatever and just kick their leg right off the body. Bizarre. They're everywhere here. Look at that one, isn't that beautiful? That's another young one, doesn't have full wings, but how do you like that red and green color? Man, that's so beautiful we could do a whole show about it. Put little suspenders on it. Oh, the red-green show. Oh, the life of a hopper scoper. For their size, grasshoppers can jump amazing distances, but if they were as big as us, they would hardly be able to jump at all. Where did they get to anyway? There were lots of them here a minute ago. I can almost feel their little compound eyes watching me, and I can't find them. How strange. Did you know that here in Alberta, as well as in Saskatchewan and Montana, there are such things as grasshopper forecasts? Because, of course, farmers want to know how many grasshoppers might be coming to eat their crops in a particular year. I've always thought that being a weatherman would be a terrible job. Everybody hates you and it's not your fault. But can you imagine being a grasshopper forecaster? All right, you grasshopper enthusiasts, have a look here. I've got the Southern Alberta 1991 grasshopper forecast up on the board for you. Now, I know that's a bit out of date, but that's okay because nature happens in cycles. In one of these years, she's going to be bang on. I draw your attention to the white areas. That's the areas that nobody cares about because, after all, there aren't very many grasshoppers there. Now, you get into the lighter yellow areas and these sort of peachy areas, well, I'm talking a north-south flow of day degrees, proper conditions for oviposition and larval development, and that's going to result in a lot of hoppers. I'm talking band-winged hoppers, I'm talking a couple of cone heads, and lots of short-winged, accredited-type basic hoppers. It's going to be heavy, heavy, heavy at Acadia Valley. Stick away from those red zones. Those red zones are going to be deep, deep, deep trouble for you. Amisk, Hughenden, and Czar, that's the worst spot you could possibly be. I'll tell you, if you're farming there, folks, sell the property. It's going to be really, really bad, or budget a lot of money for chemicals. If you're a grasshopper watcher, that's the spot to pass by, unless you don't mind being sprayed by pesticides. Ha! You know Amisk. It's right by Czar. Something's amiss because it's right by Czar. Now let me show you my grasshopper reference collection. This is a very small collection compared to some, and I really quite like it. You know, you think about all the grasshoppers you kill on the front of your car driving through grassy places. You think about all the hoppers that die from pesticides. The fact that someone like me gets a little bit of joy out of a box of dead grasshoppers has got to count for something, don't you think? Have a look. Look at that. There's my biggest grasshopper from Tena, Ecuador. What a honker of a hopper. I have no idea what it is, but, you know, it's neat. I'd love to identify it someday if I get the chance. Here's some lovely red-winged Arphias from the Alberta-Saskatchewan border down in the prairie country. You only spread one wing so they can fit more in the box. It's not that they only have one set of wings on one side of the body. They fly in circles. Some green Acrolophytus. And you might be wondering how I know which grasshopper is which. The answer is with these wonderful books by Daniel Otte, The North American Grasshoppers. It's a 2-volume set. Volume 3 is in the works. And I've never seen more beautiful plates in an insect book. Look at this lovely kind of watercolor style. For example, there's one of my favorites right there. Compare it with a specimen. Look at that, it looks like two halves of the same critter. That is, of course, the road duster grasshopper, Disostyra carolina, the Carolina locust. Perfect, easy to identify. Locusts are just grasshoppers that occur in huge numbers and eat people's crops. Well, you know, no matter how much time you spend looking through your hopper scoper, there are going to be some grigs that evade you, and for those you need your standard beating net. Just beat the foliage in the usual fashion. It's such a useful thing to have. I'm surprised that more people don't have these nets. And if you're gentle with the plants, it's no harder on them than, I don't know, a cow passing by or something like that. Very strange cow. I better do the grass too here. Kind of like curling, although I've never been curling. in my life, and I plan to keep it that way. Okay, what do we got here? Yeah, there's one down there. It's a longhorned grasshopper, which is actually more of a katydid than a grasshopper. And, oh, I know, you think I'm gonna make a katydid joke. I'm not. Perfectly normal insect name, katydid. Good looking green one. You know, if you're having trouble catching your own grigs, you can always buy them. That's the easy way, and you can do it all year. You just go to a pet store, and they sell crickets for people to feed to their pet, you know, lizards and frogs and things like that. These are European house crickets. They're a sort of a domesticated cricket, and if you have a look at them, you can right away tell that they're different from grasshoppers. They're much stubbier, and they also have two little feelers at the end of the abdomen, at the end of the body. Those are called cerci. The males just have the two, the boys. The females, especially the older ones, also have a third prong in the middle. That's the device that places the eggs, the ovipositor, and that's the easy way to tell boy and girl crickets apart. Now I'm going to put these fellows in the shade. Holy crow, the herd's moving in. And let's go looking for native crickets here as well. There are some in this pasture. They're black, and you'll never catch them in a beating net because they stay close to the ground. To find them, you have to crawl along and watch very closely. Now, most of the crickets around here are going to be black and brown, smaller than those European crickets. Some of them have orange faces, which is very cute. Little black crickets with orange faces. And you can hear them. You can hear that high trilling all around here. So there have to be crickets somewhere. And, oh, did I get him? Oh, man. Yeah. Okay, well, pretty typical experience with crickets. Fortunately, I caught a few just before we started up here. So I'm going to show you the ones that I got beforehand. Here's a nice little male. They're quite a tiny little guy, eh? And with the two cerci, and here's a big fat female full of eggs with the two cerci and the ovipositor in the middle. So there you go. These are native Alberta crickets, and I'm going to let them go and let them go back to their crickety little lives. Female and the male. This is such a fascinating activity. Don't be surprised if you attract a crowd if you try it yourself. Hey, have you ever heard this story? When I was a kid, my granddad used to tell me that if you picked up a grasshopper, it would spit tobacco on you. And I thought at the time that this was just the way things were. I mean, hey. But now it occurs to me that there's no reason that grasshoppers would be chewing tobacco in the first place. And it turns out, if you're curious, that the truth is something even more interesting and less disgusting. Now have a look here. Okay, do your tobacco thing. Spit. There we go. It kind of looks like chewing tobacco, but it's actually much less disgusting. It's just half-digested plant material mixed with juices from the, digestive system of the grasshopper. And the reason they do this is so that whatever is trying to eat them is suddenly grossed out and goes and spits out the grasshopper, which I will do. Here you go. This is a two-striped grasshopper, by the way, and I kind of wished I could find a road duster for this demonstration because they can really spit the tobacco. But, you can't always find a road duster when you want one. Still, road dusters are my favorite kind of grasshopper. Just lovely creatures.
Well, the sun, it smoldered high in the blistered August sky, and the air shimmered hotly off the ground. The leaves in the trees, they were trembling in the breeze, and the road dusters fluttered all around. In their lisping, sibilant way, on that roasting summer's day, hover flights the road dusters did perform, while the rest of nature's creatures took siestas in the shade. The dusters played before the thunderstorm. On the gravel by the path, soon to feel the hailstorm's wrath, laying eggs in the soil that soon would dampen, as it was in years gone by, 'neath the blistered August sky, when no people stood around to watch it happen. Well, the sun smoldered high in the blistered August sky, and the air shimmered hotly off the ground. The leaves in the trees, they were trembling in the breeze. The road dusters fluttered all around.
Well, isn't this wonderful? You see this little mound of sand surrounded by grass? That's what we call a pocket gopher push-up. The gophers push up the sand when they're making their burrows, and it's a perfect place for grasshoppers. The males, they have an open area, an arena, and they can do their little knee-waving displays, and, you know, there aren't any grass blades in the way. And for the females, it's not only a great place to meet guys, it's also a nice, soft surface that you can poke the abdomen into and lay eggs. So you couldn't ask for a better spot for grasshopper watching than a pocket gopher push-up on the lone prairie. Some grasshoppers have camouflage colors, while others are brightly colored for display or to warn predators that they taste bad. I'm not sleeping, you know. I'm just listening to all these grig noises around me. Did you know, by the way, that grig noises come in two basic sorts? Stridulation and crepitation. Very few people know that. Let me tell you the difference. First of all, you got stridulation, and that's what most grasshoppers do. They've got a little sort of row of ridges on their leg, and they get the leg up against the wing. This is mostly male grasshoppers that do this, and then they sort of go voot, voot, voot on the wing. And that's stridulation, and you can hear that around here. It's all that sort of sound that you hear around us here. A lot of stridulation this afternoon. And then you got, well, what crickets do, which is also stridulation. They have a little file on the inside of one wing and another file on the outside of the other wing, and they put their wings together and they go like that. It's actually more like, because they can move their wings very quickly. They could do it with their lips, but they don't have lips. Do it, little guys. Very peaceful listening to crickets. Anyway, not to forget about crepitation. Crepitation is also made with the wings of band-winged grasshoppers. And every once in a while you hear that sound, that sort of... Oh, that's a terrible imitation. Hold on, let me try again. Pitiful. Anyway, that crackly kind of sound, well, that's the sound of crepitation, and that's what male band-winged grasshoppers do when they're in the air trying to impress females by crackling their wings. And the males get up in the air and they go with their wings, and apparently it impresses the females, which is very nice. Road duster does that too. He just gets up and does a little hover every once in a while. And there you go. Oh boy, it's a very peaceful thing to do, isn't it? Anyway, keep them straight. You're stridulating grigs and you're crepitating grigs. You're bound to impress somebody.
The Rocky Mountain grasshopper was a terrible pest in the 1800s, but it has been extinct since 1903.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the world of grigs as much as I did. You know, my personal love of grigs began when I was part of the Department of Entomology of the University of Alberta. Fellow entomologist Lisa Reichert and I, we made an amateur video about road duster grasshoppers for the Christmas party. It was a big hit. The highlight was certainly our friend Yatsek's impersonation of a road duster grasshopper in an open rail yard. Boy, that was a picture. A great pick. A Gregory pick. Ha! He was a nature nut. I'm a nature nut, and I hope you are too. See you again soon.
Same time each and every week, uncensored and uncut. No doubt about it, I'm a nature nut.